Welcome students. See, in the previous class, we were talking about the development of industrial sociology, and in this session we will discuss about the pre-industrial and post-industrial society, or you can say that the evolution of industry. The evolution of industry has been quite gradual. There was a time in the history of human civilization when there used to be no industrial activities during hunting stage. Man lived all by himself. He used to go out for hunting and eat whatever he could find, even flesh, fish, fruits, roots of tree. He used tree barks, leaves and animal skins to cover his body. But he had no fixed residence. So after this, man entered into a pastoral stage under which he started domesticating animals to have an assured supply of milk, meat and skin. He lived near the banks of lakes and rivers because of the availability of grass and water for the animals. Gradually, man discovered a new use to which land could be put. He entered the agriculture stage. He began cultivating the land to grow food grains. Some people who did not have any work offered to work in the field of others. Such workers were paid in kind. The exchange of services for goods made the background for the evolution of industry. We can classify the stages in the evolution of industry as follows, like primitive stage, agrarian economic stage, handicraft stage, guild system, the putting out or domestic system, and also the industrial revolution. The machine age started after industrial revolution in England, which took place between 1760 AD and 1820 AD. The first three stages represents pre-machine age. So now we will discuss about what is the primitive stage. At this stage, the families were self-sufficient as their needs were limited. So there was no problem of exchange of goods. Division of labor was restricted only the family levels. Men devoted their time to activities like hunting, fishing and making of weapons, and women engaged themselves in cooking, bringing up the children's, agriculture and domestication of animals. In short, you can say that all the activities of the family were carried on to produce or procure products for family consumption only. As every family was able to satisfy its needs, there was no question of exchange of goods. There was collective use of natural resources and the idea of private ownership did not arise. The in the course of time, some families started keeping animals rather than killing them. This led to domestication of animals, and animals were treated as a form of wealth which could be exchanged for other products required by the family. This gave birth to the barter economy. The barter economy may be defined as the direct exchange of one commodity for another commodity. The barter economy developed because of the increase in the number of human wants and inability of a family to produce all the things required by it. The exchange was direct, and without the use of any common medium of exchange, every person used to exchange his surplus goods with the other persons for the goods required. For instance, a farmer who had plenty of food grains but no cloth exchanged a part of his food grains with the weaver who had surplus clothes and needed food grains. So, the main difficulty of the barter system was the lack of double coincidence of wants and common measures of values. So the exchange was restricted only to the goods in which some families were surplus and other families were deficient. Another stage of evolution of productive system is the agrarian economy stage. Agriculture become the primary source of maintenance during this stage. Many tribes settle down permanently at some place and begin to sow seeds and rear cattle on the land which they shared in common. So these tribes were self-sufficient as they produced everything they required. The division of labor confined to the division of work between man and woman of the tribes. So with the rise of private ownership of property in land and cattle, the tribes split up into families. Gradually, human wants also become varied. These families were not self-sufficient. So some families concentrated on occupation other than agriculture. This led to exchange of goods for goods to satisfy needs of various families and the establishment of village economy. The village become a unit of economic self-sufficiency. Some family also started using hired labor, and later on traders came into existence who purchased the surplus product of different families and sold them to those requiring these products. So the difference in purchase and sales price was their profit. Emergence of traders led to specialization in different fields by different families. It was no longer necessary to produce everything a family needed for self consumptions. So the agrarian societies are the societies which are based upon crops which are produced in conjunction with the use of the plug techniques. The invention of plug marked the beginning of the agrarian society more than 6,000 years back. According to the Collins Dictionary of Sociology, agrarian society refers to any form of society, especially traditional society, primarily based on agricultural and craft production rather than industrial production. So, the relatively high level of agricultural productivity in this type of society provides a situation favorable for the development of complex systems of social stratification and large permanent cities. The cultivation of land is done through the plug, as these inventions enabled the people to make a great leap forward in food production. It increased the productivity of land through the use of animals and bringing to the surface the nutrients of the soil. Combining irrigation techniques with the use of the plug increased the productivity and the crop yield. It also brought barren land under cultivation. So the size of the agricultural society increased as it lessened the burden of large number of people who engaged themselves in other activities. So the agricultural societies led to the establishment of more elaborate political institutions like formalized government, bureaucracy assisted by the legal system. It also led to the evolution of distinct social classes, those who own the land and those who work on the others' land. So the land is the major source of wealth and is individually owned. This creates a major difference between the social strata. Agricultural societies provide the basis for the establishment of economic institutions. So the trade become more elaborate and money is medium of exchange. It also demands the maintenance of records of transactions, crop harvest, taxation, governmental rules and regulation. Religion becomes separate institution with elaborate rituals and traditions. The agricultural society support the emergence of arts and cultural artifacts. Due to surplus in food production, people tend to divert their attentions to other recreational activities. So there is far more complex social structure. According to the Robertson, the number of status multiplies, population size increases, cities appears, new institutions emerge, social classes arises, political and economic inequalities become inbuilt into the social structure, and culture become more diversified and heterogeneous in this stage. So next stage of evolution of industry is a handicraft stage. Under this stage, artisans living in villages produced products for the local population and got in exchange various things from customers. There was hardly any machinery. The craftsmen used simple hand tools and manual skills for producing the goods. There was no division of labor at this stage. The organization of industry was quite simple. The craftsman was responsible for assembling various raw materials and selling the goods produced by him. Next stage is a guild system. A guild is an association of craftsmen in a particular trade. The earliest guilds were formed as fraternities of self employed skilled craftsmen with ownership and control over the material and tools they needed to produce their goods. A guild had the exclusive right to produce certain goods or provide certain services. Guilds often depended on grant of letters patent by an authority or monarch in order to enforce the flow of trade to their self-employed members and to retain ownership of tools and the supply of material. So there are some characteristic of guild system also, like artisans or craft guilds were formed by artisans engaged in the same line of industrial activities. The guilds were generally in a town or villages. The membership of guild was compulsory. So the main aim of these guilds were to protect the interest of the member or to ensure implementation of various rules and regulations formed by town authorities. The guilds used to elect wardens in order to regulate their working. The wardens used to ensure the implementation of various rules and regulations. So the members of guilds were expected to produce quality goods only. Any deviation from standards business practices could attract punishment from the guild. So guild were responsible for the welfare of their members. The sick and disabled members were looked after. The financial weak members were helped by the guild. The guilds were able to help the growth of industrial development on a sound footing. The interests of various sections of society were protected. The consumers were supplied quality goods at reasonable prices. Reasonable profitability was ensured to the craftsmen. These guilds made a positive contribution in the field of industry. There are two types of guild were initiated. One is a merchant guild and second is a craft guild. A merchant guild was an association of a merchant engaged in a trade in a particular locality. The purpose of merchant guild was to enforce equality of opportunities for the members of guild, to protect their interests, to avoid competition among the members, and also to regulate the conduct of its members by prohibiting unfair practices. A craft guild, on the other hand, was an association of the skilled artisans engaged in the same occupation. There were several guilds in a town. The craft guild regulated entry to the craft, prescribed standards of workmanship, and regulated the conduct of the members. So the guild system began to decline by the end of 15th century due to the narrow attitude of guilds and the increasing rivalry among their members. Next stage is a feudal or manorial stage. In this stage, it was believed that a land belonged to the king who got it from God. He gave that to the nobles and could also take that back at any time. It was the duty of the feudal lord to remain loyal to the king. The cultivators served their feudal lords in several ways. Class distinctions become well established. The priests worshipped the king and nobles fought wars, serfs rendered manual services to other classes. The traders engaged themselves in trade and commerce. Slavery and serfdom were well established and socially recognized institutions. So gradually, feudal system gave birth to capitalism, who gave greater importance to machine than man. Later, with the onset of industrial revolution, industrial societies began to emerge. The main characteristic of the feudal systems are like feudals was the social and economic system which characterized most European societies in the Middle Ages. There was the expression of society in which every man was bound to another by mutual ties of loyalty and services. Feudal society was characterized by military, landholders, and working peasant. The basic essence of the system was the granting of land in returns for military services. So, the center of the feudal system in medieval Europe was the king. Three primary elements characterized feudalism: lord, vassals, and fiefs. Lord was a noble who owned land. Vassal was a person who was granted possessions of the land by the lord, and the land was known as a fief. In exchange for the fief, the vassal would provide military services to the lord. The relation between lord, vassal, and fief formed the basis of feudalism. Since the lord had not given the land away, only loaned it, it was still the lord's responsibility to maintain the land, while the vassal had the right to collect revenues generated from it. Another obligations that the lord had to fulfill was to protect the land and vassal from harms. The vassal principal obligations to the lord was to provide aid or military services. This security of military help was the primary reason the lord entered into the feudal relationship. Manorialism was a term used for describing the political, economic, and social system by which the peasants of medieval Europe were tied to their lands and their lords through serfdom. The basic unit was the manor, a self sufficient landed estate or fief under the control of a lord. Next system is a putting out system. The intermediary between the producers and consumers of goods came to play an important role. The entrepreneur gave out work to the artisans who worked in their homes. They put out the raw materials, paid a certain sum per finished product, and sold the same in the market. So the artisans still owned the tools of production. The entrepreneur came at regular interval, collected the goods, and paid for them to the artisans. The artisans faced difficulties when the scale of production increased and there was a need for improved tools of production. The entrepreneur started providing both raw material and tools to the artisans who produced goods and received wages on piece wage basis. That is why this stage was called the putting out system. During the beginning of 18th century, the entrepreneur followed the practices of employing the artisans who worked at their own premises or workshops. The entrepreneur procured raw material and equipments, assigned work to the artisans, inspected the quality of products, and found a market for the products. He was the owner and manager of the production system. So the putting out or domestic system was used in the English textile industry, in small firms, and lock making trade as late as the 19th century. The domestic or putting out system evolves as a means of subcontracting work. Under this system, the work was contracted by a central agent to subcontractors who completed the work in their own facilities. It was used in the English textile industry in small firms and lock making units. There are some salient features also of domestic systems like workers work from home and manufactured individual uh, articles from raw materials. The articles were assembled and sold in the market located at the central place, and the domestic system was popular in cloth productions in the Europe. It was also used in various other industries like manufacture of wrought iron ware such as a pins, pots, and pans for the ironmongers. So many entrepreneurs look advantage of the domestic system to bypass the guild system, which was thought to be cumbersome and flexible. There are so many advantages of a domestic and putting out system also. The workers could work at their own speed while at home. The women of a family could work at home. She was there to look after her children. So the children's working in the system were better treated than they would have been in the factory system. And the workers also earned higher income. But the rise of factories after the success of industrial revolution made the domestic system obsolete. As the entrepreneur invested the huge amount of money into industry for maximum mechanization, the domestic system became economically non-viable. So moreover, with the rapidly increasing population, the demand for goods was pushed up, which was beyond the capabilities of the domestic system and could only be met through machines in big factories. Industrial revolution in England during the 19th century provided machineries for manufacturing on a large scale. This paved the way for the start of the modern factory system under which production system is organized more efficiently than under the domestic system. So next stage is a industrial revolution. Industrial revolution during the later part of the 18th century and earlier part of the 19th century had a vital influence on the development of industry and commerce. It changed radically the techniques of production and had an important impact on the life of mankind. Industrial revolution was the result of the invention of many English scientists during 1760 to 1820. The need for inventions arose because of the increase in the demand of products due to widening of markets, followed by the geographical discoveries of the late 15th and 16th century. It was beyond the capacity of the industry using labor intensive techniques to meet the uh, increasing demand. So, the inventors in England had set for themselves the task of finding ways and means to remove the hindrances in production faced by the producers and manufacturers. There are some characteristics also of industrial revolutions, like there were a series of mechanical inventions by the English scientists. Production in factories is started with the help of machines run by mechanical power, such as steam, oil, electricity. So, the setting up a factory required the huge amount of capital. This gave birth to two classes in industry, namely capitalist class and labor class, or you can say a working class. The introduction of machinery led to mass scale production of standardized goods, and the factory system provided both direct and indirect employment to a large number of people. Direct employment was generated by the factories and trading in raw materials, and factors products gave indirect employment to traders and mercantile agents. So the large scale employment in factories gave birth to labor problems, which necessitated some steps by employers to create good human relations in the factory. The significant changes brought about by industrial revolutions, like development of engineering. Engineers were required to design machineries for textiles, coal mining, for making and repairing steam engines and making tools and locomotives. The engineers who took charges of important tasks connected with the industrial chain could succeed in their work only if iron was cast in large quantities and was of fairly good quality. The power driven machines were used in industries. It began with the cotton spinning and weaving and later on spread to wools or silk, etc. And the it also raised the chemical industry. The application of power driven machines in textile mills made it necessary to develop bleaching, dyeing, finishing, printing processes to keep pace with the output of textile mills. Coal was needed to refine pig irons and cast it into the form in which it was needed by the engineers. It was also needed for generation of steam power, and it also support the development of means of transportation for regular supply of raw material to industry and for the distribution of goods produced by the factories. Effective transport was must. So the development of means of transport like railways and steamships constitutes the most important impact of the industrial revolution. Now, economic industrial evolution brought about the economic changes or social political effects also, like large scale production. The industrial revolution made mass production of goods possible by the use of power driven machineries in place of hand tools, and the large scale production increased the size of industrial enterprises. Sole proprietorship concerns also expanded into a partnership firms and further developed into a joint stock companies. So the evolution of joint stock companies was an important outcome of industrial revolution. Then industrialization led to craze for specialization in every field because the development in the means of transport and communication. Different parts of the country is specialized in producing or manufacturing different commodities or parts. So the specialization helps in reducing the cost of production. It also rise the capitalism. Quarter system of production was greatly replaced by the factory system. Under the factory system, capital is the crucial factor. Large scale production further increased the need and significance of capital. So this gave birth to capitalist economy under which there are two classes of people, namely capitalist class and workers class. Workers class are purely wage earners, depends for their living on the capitalist employers, and the capitalist system also increased the importance of money as a medium of exchange and measure of values and store of values. Large scale production accompanied by capitalism gave birth to trade cycle having successive period of inflation and depression. During the period of prosperity there is high level of employment and sustained rise in prices, but during the depression there is a large scale unemployment, decrease in demands. So many weak firms are eliminated during the depression period. Industrial revolution also had a positive impact on the standard of living of the people. Factories produce goods of better quality and at cheaper rate for the consumption of the people, and this improved their standard of living. Industrial revolution had certain social and political implications also, which created the need for organization of workers and later paved the way for trade unionism. So the political and social effects of industrial revolutions are urbanization. Industrial revolution led to the concentration of population in towns because factories and other establishments were located in the town. This gave birth to the housing problems. Even now, lakhs of workers continue to live in slum areas in the industrial towns. People from the villages came to the town to find employment. Their close ties with the villages, land, and family were broken. So, the Industrial Revolution created conditions under which workers aimed at material progress while working in the factories. This led to the disintegration of joint families. The Industrial Revolution also gave birth to two classes, capitalist and workers class. There was economic inequality between the rich and the poor. Slowly, class consciousness came in the mind of workers and they organized themselves in the form of unions to fight for their economic, social, and political rights. Poor working conditions, the workers were paid lower wages and they had to work under poor working conditions. There was no one to convince the factory owners about the need of good working conditions. So long as trade unions did not protest, this was an obstruction in increasing the productivity of the workers. Industrial revolution increased the income and also increased the standard of living of the people. The earning people started spending more and more on the education of their children. Press also progressed a lot to hear the grievances of the working class. So these factors created a political consciousness among the people. The workers demanded the right to form unions and to participate in the management of the industrial undertaking. There is also a revolution in the transport and commerce. Industrial revolution in England was followed by a revolution in transport and commerce. Towards the end of the 18th century, mechanical inventions were applied to the improvement of transport facilities. Road begins to be metalled and canals were built. With the development of steam engines and steam ships, both land and water transport were revolutionized. Railway conferred the advantage of speed, safety, regularity, and capacity to move bulky goods in large quantities over long distances. So, the water transport also was revolutionized by the application of steam power. Sailing ships were replaced by steamships. Remarkable progress was also made in the technology of shipbuilding. So, the result was minimization of geographical limitation and increased mobility of goods. This encouraged the traders to carry on trade with other country also. So the England imported raw material from many countries and in turn supplied finished goods to them. In short, world trade and commerce have brought different countries of the world close to one another. Next topic is a pre-machine age. Pre-machine age refers to the stages in the evolution of commerce and industry prior to industrial revolution. The era of industrial revolution may be referred to as an era of transition from pre-machine age to post-machine age, which is characterized by factory system, automation, control by electronic computers, use of atomic energy, use of satellites, etc. It may be noted that the industrialization first started in England and then it spread to other Western countries also. The features of the commercial system during the pre-machines age are like production was by manual labors on relatively small scales. Production was restricted for the local markets only. The distribution of goods was controlled by merchant guilds or association of merchants. There was virtually no competition in the markets, and sales and purchase by physical inspection of goods was the practice during pre-machine age. The towns and its surroundings, villages, acted as an unit of self sufficiency. Agriculture was the major economic occupation of the masses. The farm technology was quite simple, and village life was more or less static. And the trade in this stage was local in character because of a lack of efficient means of transport. So, foreign trade was insignificant. Metallic currency also prevailed. No elaborate money and credit system existed at this stage, and the commerce and industry was organized mostly in the form of sole trading and partnership firm. This is the These are the features of pre-machine age. Now, post-machine age, the industrial revolution took place in England and later on spread to other countries of the world. Since the industrial revolution, many changes have taken place in the industrial system. The present age is an era of large scale production. Many big factories have come into existence and they employ a large number of workers. They cater to the needs of the peoples, and not only in one country but also in many countries of the world. So, the machine age has facilitated world trade and growth of multinational corporations. During the last 7 decades, tremendous and rapid development of science and technology has taken place. That is why the present era is known as an atomic age, space age, electronic age, digital age. So, some people also call this era as the second phase of industrial revolution. In the present age, different countries of the world are closely interrelated by very fast means of transportation and communication. The main features of the modern factory systems are like large scale productions. Modern factory carries large scale production to meet the demand of large number of people. Production is carried on in anticipation of demand. The development in the field of science and technology have increased the degree of mechanization also in the modern factory system. So the efficiency of the factories has increased many times because of new innovations. In many advanced countries like USA and UK, automation has been introduced in the production system. By automation, we mean installation of one set of machines to run another set of machines. For instance, there is automation in oil refineries, chemical industrial units, and food processing units. So, a small number of operators sitting in the control room control the entire operation in the factory in automation process. Another characteristic is a management information system. Introduction of management information system with the help of electronic computer is another highlight of modern machine age. The computer have vast memories. They can store huge amount of information and make available the required information within seconds. They help in taking managerial decisions at the proper time. There is greater specialization and division of labor in the modern factories. Many industrial units is specialized in the manufacture of a small number of component or part of different products. So the division of labor has facilitated the workers to concentrate on limited operation. Another feature is a standardization. It brings about uniformity of quality and size and facilitates large scale production. Nowadays, many organizations, whether a production or services based, are trying to get themselves standardized as per international standards called ISO certification. So, overall quality consciousness has increased in the industries, and the concentration of industries in certain regions of the country has given rise to the growth of industrial areas, which offers special advantages to the industrial units in regard to raw materials, power access to market, financing, transporting, etc. Mass production, standardization of products, and improved means of transportation and communication have increased the volume of international trade among different countries. So, the big industrial enterprises have established separate departments for research and development, and they spend a considerable portion of their earning for innovating new products and ideas. Research and development activities have the effect of decreasing cost, it increasing qualities and consumer satisfaction, and it also raises the standard of living of the people. And another most important characteristic of factory system is a competition. There is a cutthroat competition among the producers of goods in all capitalist economy. Economic relations between different persons are based on contract rather than on customs and tradition. Thus, it can be concluded that the industrial revolution gave plants and machineries which gave birth to the factory system. So the entrepreneurs established factories and employed a large number of workers to work in their factories. This gave rise to two classes, capitalist and workers, and the term industrial relations was coined to create and maintain cordial relations between these two classes for the growth of industry. Thank you.